my friends and colleagues who are sitting in the dais and my dear students. This is a very important seminar, very important meeting. After Telangana has been constituted, myself and Professor Kodanram and Hargopal have already addressed a couple of meetings in Usmania University and other places about what is the role of government in terms of education. I request all if you could give me permission to make my presentation in English. I think I'm one of those people who believe it is very important that students should become familiar with this international language, and I think it's important. A lot of knowledge is in English today. Professor Google, Uncle Google is also in English. Internet is in English, so I think it's important. I'll just take about 5 minutes to make my presentation. I think for any country, for any nation, it is very important. Education is a priority. If you see in terms of any kind of a modernization which has taken place anywhere in the world, in modern societies, education has been a top priority. Unfortunately, in this country, education has never been a priority. Now we are going through elections, and I was read several manifestos earlier of various political parties in terms of manifestos. Education does not become a priority. About 10 years ago, when UK went for elections, their agenda was education, quality education, and excellence in education. They had a 3-point agenda. That was in a country like United Kingdom. So unfortunately, in this country, we do not place that kind of importance for education. That's where when we look at, as several of my colleagues have said, in terms of nature of investment, which we are making in education is very low. If you look at the nature of higher education investment, the last 10 years or 15 years, it's been just 1.8% higher education budget. Historically, several committees, several commissions which have been constituted, including the Kothari Commission report and several other kinds of reports which have been constituted in this country, said minimum we need to invest 6% in higher education. A country like India, because we are a young nation, there is no country in the world which is as young as India. My dear friends, the whole world is looking to India now. The entire world is looking to India. Canada wants qualified people. America wants skill-based people. Australia wants people. New Zealand wants people. Several countries in Saudi Arabia, and many of them are looking for skill knowledge, because we are a young nation. 50% of our population is below 25. 50% of our population is below 25 years of age. No country in the world has that kind of a young population, that kind of a human capital. If you look at a country like America, America's population is only 22 million. We are producing 22 million every year in India. 22 million we are producing every year in India. Canada's population is about just 35 million. 35 million. America's population is just about 320 million people. We are 1,400 million people. We have overtaken China in the last 5 years. India's population has grown that rapidly. That is where education becomes very important. Human capital becomes very important. Human resource development becomes very important. If you are not going to be investing in school education, primary education, vocational education, technical education, or higher education, it will be very difficult this country to become a modern country. We cannot. What is the value of education? Why education? Education is for empowerment of people. Education is to provide leadership. Education is to provide rationality of mind, scientific temper, reasoning, logic. That is the role of a university. What is the role of the university? Is to develop curiosity among young people, to think rationally, logically. That is to develop that kind of a scientific temper. Particularly in a country like India, where modernity and tradition are growing simultaneously, it is very important that universities play that kind of a role in terms of giving that kind of a temperament. And when we look at in the context of India, when you look at we have almost about 1,100 universities in India. There are 70,000 colleges in India. 70,000 colleges in India. There was a policy which was constituted when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. He did not call it, Education Commission. He called it Knowledge Commission. Because, knowledge is power. Information is power. When the Knowledge Commission was constituted, they said, India by 2015 needs to have about 2,000 universities in India. That was the recommendation of the Knowledge Commission. 2,000 universities in India. We only have about 11,000 universities in India. 11,000 universities in India and then about 70,000 colleges, which is totally inadequate. I also would like to make one point. If there's any country in the world where inequality is built into higher education, it is India. Nowhere in the world that kind of an inequality exists in higher education. We have central universities, we have institutions of national importance, we have state universities, we have private universities, we have deemed universities, I call them as doomed universities. We do not know what is happening in these universities. And if you implement knowledge, national education policy, there's going to be another major disaster in this country. They are talking about entry of foreign universities in India. Entry of foreign universities in India. Rajya Sabha has already brought about an amendment to the constitution. Lok Sabha has not yet approved, Perhaps, when this government 2024, unfortunately, BJP comes to power, they will implement the policy of getting, foreign universities in this country. And when you look at the context of India, when you look at the enrollment ratio, gross enrollment ratio in this country, is only about 27% in the age group of 18 to 23 are in colleges and universities. Only just about 27% of India's population in the age group of 18 to 23 are in colleges and universities. When you take a country like Canada, 100%. When you take a country like Australia, 100%. America, 98% of people who are in the age group of 18 to 23 are in colleges and universities. And when you take again, this 27%, the nature of gross enrollment ratio of women is only about 17 to 20%, which would mean 80% of the women in this country who are in the age group of 18 to 23 do not have access to education. I am talking about simple access. Forget about the quality of education. Several of my colleagues spoke about the quality of education. And NASSCOM recently submitted a report. One of the national bodies have submitted a report saying that 80% of the graduates who are passing out from universities and colleges are unemployable. They do not have knowledge, they do not have schools. They do not have skills. Someone referred to about school education, that is the situation. 7th class students, 8th class students cannot even read a 3rd class textbook. But so in the scenario in higher education is also equally bad. 80% of them are unemployable, they do not have. So in that kind of a context, when we talk about, this seminar is focusing on quality. How do we go about ensuring quality? Quality means we need to have good colleges and good universities, good infrastructure, good teachers. Recruitments have to take place regularly. All over the country in terms of education, when we see, is very, very disturbing. In several universities and colleges, almost about 60 to 70% of the posts are vacant. Telangana is worse. Myself and Professor Kodalram and Hargopal were part of the university. In 1975-76, when we were teaching in Osmania University, the number of faculty was 1,100. The budgeted post of Osmania University is about closer to 1,300. And that was the kind of a faculty we had in 70s, 60s and 80s. But now if you look at, as the case study of Osmania, the number of teachers who are teaching are only about 350 or so permanent teachers. Then we have got this contract system, part-time and guest faculty, which is obnoxious, which we cannot have in a university system. How are we going to be having? In 1975, there were only 2 disciplines. Now, when you look at Osmania University has got, nanosciences, nanotechnology, biotechnology. These courses were not there at that time. Artificial intelligence, robotics, many courses have been established. But then, do they have quality? What is the nature of syllabus we have? When you're talking about quality of education all over the country, particularly in Telangana, we need to have recruitment, we need to have infrastructure, we need to have good hostels, we need to have good buildings, we need to recruit people regularly, identify talent, revise syllabus. Knowledge is not changing by the day. Knowledge is changing by the hour. Technology is changing by the hour. Leapfrogging in terms of technology. Look at what's happening in the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, machine translation. It's important that our students should get exposed to this modern knowledge, modern technology. Modern technology. So that is only possible, provided we go about investing in higher education, which we have not been doing. If you look at Telangana, in the last 10 years, I have the details with me. Nature of investment they were making in higher education, the budget allocation was 3%, and then they released only 1%. Budget allocation in Telangana for the last 10 years, has been about 3% for higher education, but the amount which is released is only 1%. How can universities survive? How can universities have quality education? Quality education. I was principal of Arts College, as someone has mentioned. 93 to 95% of the students are coming are marginalized section, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and backward classes. And they need to get quality education. Quality education. Telangana itself, in terms of its demographic profile, is quite different. 93% of the population in Telangana, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, minorities, and backward classes. Among the 28 states, this kind of a profile is not there. That's where Telangana came. We thought when Telangana comes, we'll have excellent universities, outstanding universities, quality education will be there, quality schools will be there, quality infrastructure will be there. Unfortunately, for the last 10 years, the entire system has been completely destroyed. And that is where the challenge comes in. That is where, challenge comes in. Let me also make, 1 or 2 points about, when you are talking about, the national education policy. There are several state governments which are not implementing national education policy. National education policy has been rejected by Karnataka, rejected by Tamil Nadu, rejected by Kerala. Andhra Pradesh is partially implementing it. We have not yet taken a decision whether we should implement national education policy. If you closely read the national education policy, they are talking about commercialization of education, privatization of education in a big way, and also communalization of education. They are talking about in a big way in the name of Indian knowledge system. In the name of Indian knowledge system, they are talking about introducing courses in astrology, not astronomy, numerology, Vedic mathematics, Vedic sciences. They want to get in Manusmriti. They want to amend the Indian constitution. These kind of disturbing developments are taking place. That is where these kind of meetings become very crucial. In a democracy, all of us have a role to play. We have to set an agenda. Civil society like us, having meetings like this, we have to set an education agenda, social agenda, political agenda, economic agenda. That's why we have these kind of meetings. So, yeah. So, what is that we need to do? When we look at the government has issued a manifesto. But then we also have a role to play in terms of trying to set this agenda. What should we say from forums like this? 15% of the budget should be invested in education. That should be our demand in Telangana. But they are promised in the manifesto. Right now, in the voter account budget, that is not very clear. That talks about 6 to 8%. That is totally inadequate. Because several of them, in this country, marginalized sections, do not have access to quality education. So, what is our demand? 15% of the budget should be invested in education. Number 2, we cannot establish private universities in Telangana. And the private universities which have been established should also be abolished if the government has got the political will. Because there is no quality education taking place in these private universities. They are totally commercial in character. They don't have any kind of a quality. They don't have quality vice chancellor. We do not know what's happening in these private universities. That should be our... And then, recruitment in all universities should take place. The budgeted posts. Osmania University is having 1,300 posts. Kakatiya University is having 400 posts. The 13 other universities are having, several posts, vacant. Complete recruitment has to take place. It does not cost, in terms of, much high budget. Investment is, investment in human capital, so that we'll get opportunity to not only to work here, we can work anywhere in the world. So then what is important, my data shows, in some of the colleges, in some of the universities in Telangana, for the last 6-7 years, they have not even had any meeting to modernize their curriculum, modernize their syllabus. They have not. The same old syllabus which existed 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we are teaching. Syllabus has to be updated. Syllabus should be modern. Syllabus, we need to get, when the context of knowledge is growing so much enormously all over the world, new ideology, new scientific thought, new technological innovation, which is taking place. Incidentally, when you're talking about the key word today all over the world is innovation. Innovation in technology, innovation in teaching, innovation in thinking. That is what it should happen. That's where we need to have that kind of a syllabus. We need to have good infrastructure, quality means, good recruitment, good teachers, good vice chancellor, good infrastructure, good syllabus. We have to bring about reform in terms of what kind of an examination system we need to have. How do we judge our students? All these factors are very, very important for us. And then lastly, when you're talking about Telangana, education becomes much more crucial. 80 lakh population of Telangana is in the age group of 18 to 23. Young population is there. 80 lakh population is there. And then, there are also other kinds of population which is, in the age group of 3 to 18. All of them should go to good colleges, good schools, good universities, good universities. Government has a role. State has a responsibility. If the state does not have a responsibility in terms of education and health, why have a state? Why have a state? State should be accountable to the people. Then we can also privatize the state. And I'm sure all of us will play a role. And several of us were sitting on the dais, have some kind of a role to play in terms of enlightening the government, educating the government, that the kind of a damage which has taken place in the last 10-15 years has to be restored. So that all the children of Telangana, this 80 lakh population and younger population would go to good school, good colleges and good universities. Without human capital development, Telangana cannot progress. Investment in human capital is very, very important. Let's hope we will try to set that kind of an agenda in having meetings of this nature, so that Telangana should become a model for the rest of the country in terms of school education, higher education. Is that possible? Of course it is possible. There are a lot of committed people in this part of the region to bring about that kind of a quality in education, both school education, primary education and higher education. Hoping that we set that kind of a educational agenda for better excellence and quality in education, we will have to continuously fight. And then role like this, meetings like this will help in terms of setting an education agenda for our youth of this region. Thank you very much.